Tales of Mithrym.
Den of Thieves, read by Skye Alley, Part 14. Said and done. The sun was far below the horizon when the three of them finally made their way back through the gates of the town. Interest grew from the townsfolk as soon as they were spotted. Doors were flung open as they made their way down the street. Bright orange lights spilled out, and they were increasingly illuminated to gasps from the growing crowd as they saw the injuries the three had sustained. At the end of the road, they came to the door of the inn. Elvin rapped hard on it, and Miss Green quickly came and let them in. They all stumbled forward and dropped bags and boxes down on the tables inside. Cries and cheers went up from the crowd as they began exploring the hoard and found silver and tools, jewels and heirlooms all bundled together. Elvin, Ducky, and Derval made their way over to a set of chairs and slumped down. The guard came over to see them, a broad smile on his face. "How did you?" he began to ask. Elvin focused. "We found the nest." "Came down hard on them, did ya?" came the triumphant voice of Archibald. "More like they came down hard on us." Ducky laughed, wincing again at the pain in his arm. "How did you know that would work?" Elvin turned to Derval. Derval laughed. "Like before," she explained. "The kobolds showed me. Didn't you see their little warning bell?" Elvin recalled the guard, kicking at the wall to alert the others. He laughed. "Well," Miss Green came over to see them, smiling like the others. "You three have certainly been in the wars, haven't ya? Still, all's well that ends well, as they say. Let me get you some dinner." "Yes, please," they all said together. "Sammy!" Miss Green called to a young man near the bar. "Yes, miss." He stood to attention. "Drinks on the house tonight. Seems to me we've got reason to celebrate." An even louder cheer erupted from the crowd. The mood that night was much transformed from the night they had first arrived. The townsfolk plied them with questions and asked them again and again to tell the story of their fight with the beasts of Imu. Before long, even Ducky could not keep up with the excitement, and they soon settled to just eating and drinking and rebinding their wounds as the party went on around them. A band struck up in one corner, and the people began to dance and sing. But Ducky, Elvin, and Derval just slumped back in their chairs and let the sound wash over them. Before too long, they drifted off to sleep. The next morning, having been helped to their beds by the grateful people, they woke to a bright and sunny day. Derval got up and dressed. She checked over her things, making a mental note that she would need to find a grindstone soon for her poor battered axe. Making her way downstairs, she saw Ducky and Elvin chatting together at a table, and the warm smell of breakfast came up to greet her. Elvin gestured to an empty chair, and Derval sat down. "So, are we staying around for a bit, or are we heading off now?" Elvin was asking. "It looks to me as these folks have things in hand now," Ducky said. A plate of bread and meat was brought out, and Derval began eating. "I'm not sure we can afford our plan anymore," she said after a while. "We spent quite a bit staying here, and we didn't exactly find work." Elvin smiled. "Aha!" he chuckled. "That, I think, is where you are wrong." He dropped a purse on the table, and it jingled with the sound of coins inside. "The town had a whip round for us," he continued. "It looks like we are professional monster hunters now." Derval laughed. "I'll start on the adverts," she chuckled. Once they were done with breakfast, they said farewell to Miss Green and the staff at the inn, then made their way down to the docks. The foreman was on duty and bade them good morning. "We're looking for a ship," Elvin explained. "Where to?" the foreman asked. "Nowhere in particular," Derval smiled. "Just, well, somewhere." "Well, I'd say we've got a fair choice docked here for you then." He gestured to the ships moored up along the quay. "The lads are just finishing up loading, so you should start seeing the crews about soon. I dare say you'll find one right enough." "Thank you." Elvin beamed, and the three of them began to make their way to the ships. Just then, though, a commotion came up from behind them. One of the dock guards was running down with a panicked look on his face. Behind him were about 24 children, and, Ducky recognized, the teacher from the school. "Sir, sorry, sir," the guard was calling. "I couldn't stop them, sir." Now, what's all this?" said the foreman. "I'm sorry," said the teacher, wrangling in a couple of the more excited children. "But they heard that he was leaving." The children ran forward and began speaking all at once. Elvin and Derval laughed as they realized that the crowd was there for Ducky. The great man smiled down at them and reached around to draw his sword and demonstrate for them again. He almost fell to his knee, though, as the pain in his arm caught him again. The children gasped. "Are you all right?" one child asked. "Aye," Ducky rubbed his arm. "Well, I had a bit of a run-in," he explained. "With a kobold?" asked another child. "No, this was from a goblin." Ducky pointed to the bandage around his arm and shoulder. "It cut me deep." The children all gathered in to look. Sounds of ooh and ah came from them as they inspected the injury. "Oh no!" one child declared, the penny dropping. "Did you tell it not to?" Ducky laughed. "I guess I must have done," he smiled. "Mr. Ducky?" A small girl stepped forward and looked up at him. "We made you something." Ducky leaned down to look as the girl lifted up what looked like a small toy made from odds and ends of fabric and string. It was quite recognizable, though. Green skin and a small axe in one hand. "It's a goblin!" shouted another child. Ducky laughed. He took the toy and sat it on his shoulder. The children laughed and cheered. The teacher thanked them and led the group away. Ducky, Elvin, and Derval made their way to the ships and before long found a captain happy to take them. They made their way up onto the deck and leaned over the rail as they watched the crew untie the moorings. The ship lurched and began to pull away from the dock. On the shore they could see figures waving to them. They waved back. Soon, though, the people disappeared into the distance. In time, so did the land itself, and they found themselves drifting off into the great and wide oceans. Off to their next adventure.
Tales of Mithrym are written by Jimmy Clephane. Mithrym is a fantasy world built for the Dungeon Room role-playing game system. To find out more about the world of Mithrym, or to try out the game, go to www.mithrym.com.